Welcome back to Rollin with Olan. I'm Jeff Olan, your host. Happy holidays, everybody. Make it a great holiday season.
Yeah, that's right. The Thanksgiving special. I'm Jurgen Abo, the producer here with Jeff. We're going to have a little chat. We're going to talk about Jeff's story, some of his very unique experiences, and his perspective after decades of doing this. I think, yeah,
Decades.
decades. There you go. He's still a young man,
Yeah.
but,
Oh,
decades in.
yes. Thank you. Thank you. Let me fix my hair.
That's good. That's good.
Where did it go? Okay.
So this is conversational. I hope that the audience appreciates that. Yeah, we have some notes, we have some things we want to touch on, but we're going to keep this conversational with you, Jeff, just so that your audience gets to hear you. You've had so many awesome guests on, you're going to have so many more, but today we get to hear from you. And here's what I want to start, man. I know you came to Hollywood with a dream, and I know that you went from dream to goal. You set a very clear
Mm.
goal and you started working on that. What's interesting is, yeah, even though we set a goal, we have no idea where we actually end up. And pretty much everybody, I think, end up somewhere a little bit different than what they had maybe imagined. So when you reflect on your journey and kind of how it all sort of turned out for you, what do you think and how do you feel?
That's a great question. You know, when I was growing up in Indiana, I got all the support in the world from my parents, my family, and I think that starts it out. You have to have that support in order to go out and live your dream, whatever that might be. In my case, I wanted to be an actor. I used to, watch television shows, you know, laying on the floor in front of my parents' bed and just watching and watching and watching. I couldn't get enough of it. And I had this dream about being in that box, in that television. And I just said, I've got to do that. One day I'm going to do it. I'm going to pack up and I'm going to go. And I did it. And I went and had no clue at all what I was going to hit once I got to Hollywood. And of course, I decided to drive cross country with a friend of mine, loaded up my little 19, whatever, 80, I think it was an 80, no, it was a 1979 Mustang. I should remember that, but 1979 Mustang. Loaded it up with my friend Penny. We drove cross country. She wanted to go out west to see her family. I was going out to live my dream, the dream of becoming an actor in Hollywood. And let me tell you something. I studied at Second City in Chicago. I did stage at Indiana University, Northwest, and I stayed there instead of going to the big school because I wanted to make sure I got my opportunity. And I drove out west, took about 5 days or so to drive into California, into Los Angeles, into Tinseltown. And then I had no clue. I didn't know where to go exactly. I just started doing little things, making little steps, little baby steps. I had gone to my parents' friend who had a son who was a producer in Hollywood, so I was able to at least contact him, which is another story down the line. I also had some friends of my brothers who lived out here. I contacted them. One thing led to another. I ended up staying on couches and on floors and just sleeping here and sleeping there, trying to make it, getting up every day, trying to figure out where I was going to go because everyone's journey is different. There's no journey that's exactly the same. And I had no clue, Jorgen, had no clue where I was going to go, what I was going to do. But honestly, where I am now is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And everything seemed to work out. If you work hard, you pay your dues, as they say, everything does work out. It's just, you have to have patience and you have to get up every day and do something for your career. I don't care if it's 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, you have to do something for your career. And at that time, it was acting for me. Then, of course, I got into acting and casting and producing and podcasting and, everything because why not? Try it all. Don't stop. Don't let anyone stop you and don't stop. And so I am so grateful that I have been able to do what I've been able to do. Some help along the way, but seriously, it's because I had that dream and I followed it through. And I think anybody and everybody who's listening has had a dream. And most people have followed through. And if you're not following through, make sure you get up the next day, take a bigger step, and follow your dream. Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of having the patience and having the belief that you can make it happen.
Yeah, we're going to get into some really cool stories that show exactly how you've been doing that over the years,
Yeah.
right? In different ways. I just wanted to ask you one more question before we get to that, which is, so
Yeah.
now, having done background casting for years and years, right, and having
Yeah.
become an independent filmmaker and all these things, you've literally been on hundreds of sets. You've worked on tons of projects. You sat in an endless amount of production meetings. You work with just a bunch of celebrities and all these unique experiences. So when you reflect on that specifically, what do you think? I mean, obviously we're giving thanks here, we're feeling the gratitude and all that, but what specifically comes to mind as you're just thinking about all that?
Well, I think all the hard work paid off. And if you're persistent about things and you actually want to get things done, you have to go for it. And like I said, to live whatever dream it is that you have to be the first to get up off the couch and do something. And I am really so thankful that I did that. It took years and it's still going. I'm still in the industry. I love it. You have a passion for it, so continue doing it. I love what I do. I've loved acting. I love casting. I love helping people. And I look back at everything I've done, like you mentioned, all those production meetings. I mean, I would sit in these production meetings, I'd pinch myself sometimes. There'd be various people in there that I had heard about that were directing episodes or producers. I'd pinch myself that I'm even in there with these people. I was able to actually get into and still do into these big offices and big meetings and huge tables and conference tables and people just talking about the TV series or the movies and how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that, and meeting all the celebrities along the way, making friends with some of them, and actually just living my life. This little kid that came out from Indiana. I mean, I call myself a little kid, but I was 20, just barely 22 years old when I came out from Indiana, living that, hopefully living the dream. And I did, and I have, and I've been out here all that time now in Los Angeles. And I've gone to a few other markets, but Los Angeles has really been my home. It is the place where I have my office. It's where I've been working on all my connections, all my friends, all my networking. Everything here has made my life what it is today. And it is, as far as being in the industry. So yeah, I mean, I really, I pinch myself a lot because I really am so like, you know, I'm so thankful that I picked the career that I picked and that I was able to become a success at it in various parts of it, especially in the casting and casting background actors for years and years. Like you said, I've been doing it for 33 years. Um, you know, uh, just so many movies and television shows and people that I've met along the way. Um, I did it and I'm doing it. And I'm just so, yeah, I have to, can you tell? I literally have to pinch myself sometimes to know where I'm at, uh, compared to when I just drove out here so many years ago. And I was just looking for, that space or to do something or what was I going to do? And here I've done it because I've worked very, very hard at doing it every single day. I have put in, I've put in my at least 2 hours a day to, you know, to make things happen. Because if you just sit around and you don't do anything, you're not going to get anywhere. And I just have really gone for it because this has been such a passion to me throughout the years to to live the life that I only dreamed of when I was that little kid watching TV in front of my parents' bed. And now I'm living it, and I couldn't be happier.
There you go, man. There you go. All right. So
Yeah.
for anybody watching on YouTube, yes, Rolling with Olan is on YouTube now too. You'll see the poster in the background, Pulp Fiction. An absolutely iconic movie. Um, I want to hear you talk about a couple of things around that. Can we just start with maybe like where you were in your career when that opportunity came, how that came about, sort of like the serendipity slash craziness slash awesomeness of all that, and then take us into some of the other experiences there. Obviously, there might be a John Travolta story, etc. But yeah, how did it all come about, man? I love that movie.
Well, great question, and I love the fact that I'm associated with Pulp Fiction and with Quentin Tarantino. Um, so when I had my first casting company, which was called Rainbow Casting, we started out of an apartment, and there was myself and two partners, and we were just sitting and waiting for the phone to ring, literally. And right above me, there was a big air conditioner unit, and it was blasting because it was in the middle of the summer, and it was like really blasting, loud, and it was a lot of air coming out, and the phone rang. And at the time, we had two telephones, and the phone that was on my makeshift desk rang, and I picked it up, and there was a producer on the other end, and his name was Paul Hellerman. He was a UPM producer, and I could hardly hear him. And I didn't think about turning there. I was just like, yeah, 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 okay. We started talking. One thing led to another. And he said he's doing a movie. The director had only done one other movie prior, and he'd like to talk to me about it. And he really is looking for a company that could take it on, that could be hands on. They didn't want to go to the big, big companies in town. They wanted the biggest company, which was Central. They didn't want to go there. They wanted hands on. So they wanted a company that could just take it on and really cater to them. So I said, yes, yes, I'm the guy, whatever, whatever. I sold my services over the phone, what have you. And he goes, I want to invite you in to meet with the director. I said, great. So he didn't give me a script. He just said, come on in. You're going to meet with the director, and you're going to meet with the first AD, Sam Mahoney. And I went into this meeting, and Quentin Tarantino was walking the halls, and I kind of saw him, but I didn't think anything of it. And they put me into this big open room, and there was two chairs in there, literally two regular like kitchen chairs facing each other. I sit in one chair, and then Quentin comes in, and he takes the other chair and he flips it around to where the back is right here in front, and he's just like going back and forth. And he's like, the chair is like going back and forth, and he goes, hey, and literally he started talking to me, and he starts talking, and then he's talking to me about the movie and, his plans and his goals and this and that and whatever. And I'm like, back and forth, just watching him. I mean, it was crazy. I had met producers and directors prior a little bit, but this was crazy. He was all over the place. God love him. He was all over the place. And I literally followed him wherever he turned, whatever he did, whatever he said, I followed him. And we started talking, and we were laughing, and he was telling me this and telling me this and telling me that, and told me a little bit about the story, and said, I would love to work with you. And I was like, I would love to work with you. And like I said, I did not know anything about Reservoir Dogs. I didn't know that much about anything. I just went in, and they didn't give me information prior, but they certainly gave me information walking out. I walked out with the script of Pulp Fiction in my hand. I had no clue that Pulp would be what it was. I was just saying, I'm working with a director that's a little bit wacky, but nonetheless, this is going to be really cool. And I liked what he had told me in this meeting, and he and I ended up having this absolutely fabulous collaboration. We did Pulp Fiction together. We did Jackie Brown. We did Four Rooms. I worked with him on, From Dusk Till Dawn with Robert Rodriguez directed, but Quentin was in it. He was a producer of it. Hell Rider, which he was a producer of. So we had many collaborations together, and it was wonderful. I had the best time. I'll tell you one real quick thing. When we did Jackie Brown, we were on the beach, and only a very small group of us were invited out to this little beach party, and we were doing Jackie Brown. And they took the old boom box. There was about 20 of us on the beach, and we're out there, we're partying, we're having a good time. I was lucky enough to be invited. I pinch myself now to just think that I was there. This is when Quentin was dating Mira Sorvino. She was out on the beach. Samuel L. Jackson was there. Myself, Lawrence Bender, who's Quentin's producer and partner at the time. Paul Hellerman, the producer who brought me in. There was, some other actors and some other people on the beach. A bunch of us just hanging, having a good time. I tell you, there might have been a joint involved. There was definitely drinking involved. We had a great time. And what happened was they took the they took the music from Pulp Fiction. They put the DVD in there, and they played Pulp Fiction music on the beach, and this was a party for Jackie Brown. And there we are, 20 of us, doing a little dancing on the beach. Dockweiler Beach in, I believe that's it's on the other side of Marina Del Rey, south. But anyways, anyone who's familiar with it knows. And they had a fire pit and drinking and partying and having a great time. And that's just an unbelievable story. Another story from it is I was on Pulp Fiction. I was in the parking lot. I went to visit when they were at the diner, and I went to visit that day. And, when I was younger, Jorgen and my audience, a lot of people, when I had hair, a lot of people said, my gosh, you look a little bit like John Travolta. And so I was always like, okay, cool. That's really great. I love that. Barbarino, I love it. But what happened was that day I go out to the set and I'm visiting my extras and my stand-ins, and I'm just standing there in a parking lot, and Travolta comes up to me and he goes, hey, are you my stand-in? And I was like so proud. I was like, no, I'm actually not. I actually hired your stand-in to work with you. But I was so proud, and he was so gracious, and we talked and talked. And over the years, I became friends with him and, his late wife, Kelly, God bless her, Kelly Preston and I, we had worked on many projects together, and these are just fabulous people, fabulous people. But the fact that he came up to me and asked if I was his stand-in, but, these are things that I look back on now and I go, my God, how lucky have I been to be able to work with these people and to be able to be in situations like those and to have a picture like Pulp Fiction being that was the first feature film that I ever did in extras casting. The first feature film. That's pretty incredible.
That's legendary, Jeff. I think everybody who's listening who saw that movie around the time that it came out and recognized the impact of it would say it's almost in its own category. It just culturally, that thing was unlike anything else. There are really only a few movies that are like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just awesome. And Jackie Brown, of course, as well. So that's cool. And it is cool. Every time I see that poster there, I think about the movie. I think about your experience. I think about what a way to kick off your, background casting work. And so inspiring. I think the thing that folks should take from that story is that if you were early in your career, you have the opportunity to have your version of that initial meeting that you had where Quentin Tarantino grabs the chair, flips it the other way, sits down, and you're just sitting there and you're like, who is this character? What is going on here? This is kind of wacky. And then it turns it like, if you're starting out now, you're not going to sit with Quentin Tarantino now, but you might sit with a future type, so just be on the lookout, be open for those opportunities, take those, right? Like you must have had absolutely the right attitude and the right wiring for you to fully take advantage of that moment, right? And I know you don't brag about yourself, but maybe you can just share a little bit about like your mindset and like what enabled you to just sort of roll with the craziness and embrace it. And like you said, you went with him on every crazy little turn he took, right? Like how are you like that?
That, I don't know. I think it's just me. You can't go into anything and taking it too serious. You have to go into it knowing that, if you're confident in whatever you do in life, you have to know you just go in and you have to have that confidence and go in there and not think too much about anything else. Certainly put any kind of negativity out of your head. and this goes for anyone who's doing any kind of job across the board, but especially in the entertainment business, right? Just put negativity out of your head. You're either going to get hired or you're not. And if you do get hired, it's because of, yes, who you are as a person, and what you're capable of doing. Let's remember, they didn't really know what I was capable of doing. I just got that phone call out of the blue. Paul was probably calling around to different agencies. He and I got along on the phone. One thing led to another, and he invited me in. I don't know if Quentin met with other people or not, but I'm guessing not, because it happened the very next day. I was invited in. There was no wait time. They wanted to make sure that they had the right person to handle it, and I was not only the right person, but my company was right to do this at that time. And I was the contact. I was the main contact. I dealt with the assistant directors and wardrobe and hair and makeup and everybody. And I had several meetings with Quentin before we actually shot. And that in itself was interesting because I got to know him during that time. I don't know 100% what it was, but you're absolutely right. You know, there's an energy that, certain people see in others. And Quentin and I connected very quickly. And I think part of it was like, because I didn't know him. I didn't read the script. I didn't know anything. I just went in and I wanted a job. And I got called for a job, and I knew the guy had already directed a movie. I had no clue which the movie was, like I said, but he had already directed a movie. So here I was in doing what my next step was in life, because I had gotten out of the acting and I went into casting, and we were in business for maybe 6 weeks only before I got that phone call. I had done a television movie of the week with Fred Blankfein, who was a wonderful, wonderful man. He was an assistant director. He brought me in to do a television pilot with Susan Lucci, which was called Between Love and Hate. And I did that, and we had worked for about 3, 4 weeks on that. And interesting thing on that one, just changing it up here on that, Fred called me and he goes, "Hey Jeff, we're going to have probably about 650, 700 extras on this movie. Do you have the people?" And you know what? We really didn't. We only had about 400 people that were signed up with the agency at the time. But of course, I said to him, "Of course, I have that. I have those people." And we not only got the job, we got people along the line. We were able to do it, and that was wonderful. And so that was my first television movie. We're doing that for just like I said, about 3 weeks, and then I get the call from Paul Hellerman, and yeah, I think it was really just it was magical. It was so magical to hook up with Quentin, because as I first met him, I did think he was this guy's kind of wacky, but love him dearly. I'm so happy for our collaboration. I'm so happy he saw something in me, because that's what started off my casting career. And I think it really put me on the map, obviously, to do what I've been doing and doing it for as long as I have.
Yeah, in business, in entertainment, in most fields, we talk a lot about relationships, and
Yeah.
sometimes we do confuse that with maybe just like schmoozing and trying to play the game and kind of having a lot of these sort of contacts and superficial relationships. But what I think you can probably attest to is that being open-minded enough and develop and being unafraid to develop real relationships and like properly connect with people really does lead to a lot of opportunities. Like you said, people are looking to see what kind of person you are, what kind of character is in this human body, right? What is this person made out of? And then, cool, like if that's somebody good, let's see if they got the skills too. And you've talked a little bit before about the fact that that has created opportunities for you. Could you maybe elaborate on that a little bit? And maybe that's a good way into the incredible run you had at Grey's Anatomy too.
Oh my God, that's what. Yeah, that an incredible run there. Yeah, look, I would say this, and you just hit on it too. In our industry, in this industry of entertainment, you got to be yourself, and you've got to allow people to um, understand who you are. Um, you know, I think a lot of people go into it and they believe that they have to put on some sort of act, or they have to pretend they are somebody who they're not. Be yourself, go in, meet the people, and like I said, if it's meant to be, it will happen. Um, because I believe everybody, and I certainly can, you can see through somebody who's just putting on an act. And I say that even as a casting director, but it's not something that those of us who are in decision making positions like, because a lot of us really do want to help people, and we don't want to help somebody that we're already seeing is coming in and they're just putting on an act and they're just faking who they are. That to me is just, I don't want that. I want the real thing. I want the real people. And I think the relationships that I've had over the years with producers, long time relationships, years and years and years. And that's why I've been so successful in casting, because I have a lot of the people that have continuously come to me over the years because I'm who I am. I will certainly add to the conversation if they want. I will certainly, give advice. I will certainly tell them what I think about this or that or whatever. And I'm just myself. I'm just doing what I do, which is uh, being the best I can in life and being the best I can in this industry. And you talk about Grey's Anatomy, a great, great, great story. So Ann Kinberg, wonderful Ann, she's been a UPM for years and years and years, and she has opened so many doors for people. And she's just the nicest person you could imagine. And her and I, we started getting to know each other. I worked on uh, a show with her called The Sleeper Cell. I believe it might have been for Showtime or HBO. And her and I built a really great relationship. And she came to me for show after show after show after show because I was myself. I did what I said I was going to do, and I took care of business for her that she otherwise did not have to do or take care of or think about, because I was there myself, my associates, my company. So one day I get a call from her and she says, "Look, we're going into a meeting. The pilot of the show has already been shot, but they're going to shoot the series in Los Angeles, and the show is Grey's Anatomy." And again, one of those things, I had no clue. I went with her. I met her over at ABC Prospect Studios. We went into an office. There were two other producers in the office. There was Rob Korn, who's a UPM producer, a fabulous guy. He was sitting at the side of the desk, and behind the desk was Peter Horton. Peter Horton was the executive producer of Grey's Anatomy. He was also the first director. He directed the pilot. So that guy. I mean, he gets residuals for every Grey's Anatomy that's out there. And of course, Shonda Rhimes was the big boss, but she wasn't sitting in this meeting because she didn't have to make the decisions on the production end of who they were bringing in to do the background casting. So I go into this meeting. Ann's sitting there, I'm sitting there, Rob's sitting there, and Peter's sitting there, and we start talking, and one thing leads to another. And of course, I'm just, again, myself, just talking to them, knowing enough about the industry to have a great conversation with people who know a lot more than I do about production and the industry, but knowing enough about it to where I was able to weave around and talk to them and figure things out and know exactly kind of what they were talking about. And if not, at least I would listen and answer wherever I could. And again, it was the energy in the room. One thing led to another. We had all spoken for about 45 minutes, and they didn't say anything. And I got up, thanked them all. I'm walking out of the room, and Peter Horton says to me, "Jeff, you start Monday." And I ended up doing Grey's Anatomy for 16 seasons. 16 seasons, an incredible show, great people. We had such a great crew. The crew is so important. It's not just about the actors and the producers, but the crew is so, so important. And each and every one of them, thank you guys. We had a great run, all of us. And, there's some still there that are doing their thing. And great producers, great people involved. And my associate, my late dear associate, Gil Espinosa, I got to do a shout out to him because he helped tremendously keeping us afloat during those years. And we just had a ball. But 16 seasons of doing a television show such as that, which is still going right now. And the only reason I'm off is not something I did, it's politics in the industry. A new producer came on. Unfortunately, they pretty much cleared the house, meaning they cleared most of the crew that was on, which was unfortunate, but they wanted to get their own people on. You kind of walk away, you go, okay, what can you do? But the bottom line is I had a great run on it. I have no regrets. 16 years on any television series that's a win-win right there.
Mm. Yeah, one of the takeaways here for me is that, again, people who are aspiring to accomplish big things, right, might think of this as like, how do you get Grey's Anatomy? How do you get Pulp Fiction? And the reality is, when you have those conversations up front with Quentin Tarantino about Pulp Fiction is not Pulp Fiction yet. Pulp Fiction is what
That's right.
happens when a bunch of talented, open minded people come together, do the work, and then it grows into something. Same with Grey's Anatomy. The first season, like first production, like it's not there. It's not about how do you get something that is already established necessarily. It's how do you put yourself out there? How do you create those opportunities to be in those rooms early enough to catch the waves, right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right on that. That's kind of like goes back to when you said, when I first came out to Los Angeles, I didn't, I knew what I wanted to do. I just wasn't sure how I was going to do it. And it's the same thing with any of these shows. You're going to step into a room and you're going to have a meeting. Nowadays, a lot of those meetings are on Zoom, but you're going to have a meeting and you've got to go in and you've got to be the best you can and, not put on some sort of fake attitude. Just be the best you can. And I think people know and they see that and they know if you're real or not, if you really are eager and you really want to work with them and you got to let them know. And I think also if you can learn about somebody you're stepping into a room with and you can learn anything about them, do it because there's always going to be that opportunity where you could say something to them. Oh my God, I'm a big fan of yours. I love that movie that you did, blah, 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 or this or that or whatever. And that goes a long way. We can't take it that, look, there's producers, huge directors out there. And when somebody does tell them how much they like it and they're real about it, they really appreciate that. They're all doing what we're doing. They're all living a dream. And I think at any level, if you're lucky enough to get to work with these incredibly creative and wonderful people, then you're really, really lucky and blessed. And I'm grateful. I'm thankful every day that I've been in this industry. Something new happens. I always say it's a wild industry for anyone who wants to get into it or anyone who's in it already. It's one of the only industries, I believe, that you can actually be working on a set in the past, the present, or the future, because it's television and movies. And it is wonderful. And I love, love, love this business, the people that are involved in it. And you have to, you have to have perseverance and you have to go for what you want, and just live your dream, you know?
Let's take a
So I'm very happy.
let's
Yeah,
take a really quick time out just on that note. We have so many other stories to get to, but can we talk about the sponsor of this awesome podcast real quick?
let's do that. Yes. Source and cast.
Yeah, man. So
Look,
you've actually been using Source and Cast through your company, Jeff Olan Casting, right?
yeah. And I see I bit my lip earlier too. Okay.
Yeah, I was
Now
going to
that
say
everybody sees
were you in
that.
a little fight there
Yeah.
in the streets, or
You should see the other
yeah,
guy.
yeah, exactly. All right, so
Yeah.
excuse me, Source and Cast, the ultimate platform for background casting. You are a background casting director. You use Source and Cast. Why should actors sign up for Source and Cast?
Well, first of all, look, it's free to sign up and it's always free to submit. And let me tell you this much. If you're in Atlanta or New York or Los Angeles, you should sign up. If you're a background actor, you want to become a background actor, sign up for Source and Cast because, you know, look, it's an online platform and it's the only online platform for background actors. So why not do it? Get yourself out there, get yourself seen. It's a wonderful, wonderful platform. It's easy to figure out. We use the platform a lot to cast, and I think anybody who wants to get more work, should be on the platform. It's really look. No one platform and no one casting company is going to get you work every single day. So why not be with different platforms and casting companies and this and that? But especially if it's free, free to sign up and free to submit. Why not do it? And that's look, I can't say anything more about that. I think it's wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Source and Cast, for sponsoring Rolling with Olan, making it all possible.
Absolutely.
Let's get back to you,
Love you
man. Let's
guys.
get to these stories and stuff. Can we talk about Weird Al Yankovic real quick?
Sure, sure, sure. Well, he's an incredible guy. I'm sure most of you know who he is. In real life, this guy really is as incredible as you see him on the screen. And we had such a great time. So I did the Weird Al Yankovic film, which a lot of you probably saw. And it was the Al Yankovic story. And it was on, let's see, it was in 2023, early 2023, I believe. And I believe it might still be out there. You might be able to see it on Roku. But anyhow, after all these years that I've been doing casting, and I've done great movies like Pulp Fiction and, great television shows like Grey's Anatomy, which Jorgen said, and so many others, hundreds and hundreds. Obviously, anybody, please go to my IMDb page. You will see what I have done. But I was so proud to do the Weird Al Yankovic story. And one day I get I get a plaque in the mail. Well, it's actually just well, let me just show you, okay? I finally have been on an Emmy Award-winning show. I got this. I don't know if you're able to see it or not,
Yeah, yeah. Look at that.
but it says honors Jeff Olan, extras casting director, for contributions to the Emmy Award-winning program, Outstanding Television Movie, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. And this is a Television Academy 2023 Emmy Award. So, woohoo! Now, the statue itself went to the head casting director, but we're all part of the team. We all work together. We all work together to make the magic on a set pop. And we did that on this. We were nominated for it. We won. Couldn't be happier. I thank my team. I thank the producers. I thank everybody on that for the wonderful collaboration in order to make something. And you never know on anything when things are going to happen like that. And again, my heart is full there because I never thought I'd get something like that. You work every day in this industry. You try the best you can to be the best you are. And I believe that sometimes it really shows, it pops. But when you get something like that, that's like, oh my God, somebody else is actually seeing your work and really loving it. So thank you to the Academy. And thank you to all my friends and family out there. Okay, there you go. That's my speech. But no, really, it moves me. It really does.
So that's a good one. Switching gears a little bit, is it true, Jeff, that you also spent some time in prison?
Jorgen is hitting on it. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Let me talk about my criminal past. Not only was I in Chino prison,
Mm.
but I spent time on the main yard at Folsom Prison up in Sacramento. And if any of you know about Folsom Prison, 3/4 of the people in there are lifers. I'm not because I'm here. Okay, so truth be told, I was doing a movie, American Me, directed by Edward James Olmos, an incredible guy. And Edward had hired the casting director, Sally Pearl, who I was working with at the time. And she had asked me if I was ready to go to prison. And what had happened was, honestly, it was the first crew that the prison had actually allowed in there. It was probably one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I look back at it now. I don't know how I actually did it, but again, when you want something, you just go for it and you just say, okay. I did not tell my parents until after the fact. They would have said, no, 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 you're not doing it, because we had to sign our life away going in, literally, the crew. So what they did was production just got a very small crew to go in. And I was staying in a hotel in Sacramento, and we did some open calls to bring people into the prison, but we had to make sure that the prisoners that we were casting, had no records, no felonies, no nothing, because the prison would never have allowed them in. So there were some scenes that people from outside the prison were brought in. First time this has ever happened with a crew and a production. They were brought in, and we shot away from the prisoners, obviously, and those guys were playing prisoners. But then there were other scenes where they used the real prisoners, the good prisoners, okay? And I was out there, and I was walking the main yard one day, and they put a yellow jacket on me, so everyone could see me. And there was gun bearers up in the towers, literally aiming their guns at me. But it wasn't at me to obviously shoot me. It was at me just in case somebody tried to jump me. And I was walking the main yard with all these prisoners, bad, bad prisoners. But luckily, I was with the warden and I was with guards, and I felt very comfortable. And my boss at the time, Sally, she wasn't out there. She had sent me, and I was so honored at the time. Obviously, I didn't exactly know what I was going in for, but you find that out once you're there. And I just said, what an incredible, incredible opportunity. And when I was in there, I didn't think, you couldn't think what was going to happen, but it was scary. It was different. It was unique. It was fun. It was exhilarating. And we all stayed in pretty tight group and a lot of guards around us. And a couple of times there were even a couple of riots, and we had to learn to sit by the walls and the fence, duck down and put our heads down. We had to learn exactly. And we learned all that in training before we went in. And it would take about 3 hours to get the cast through the security at the prison. And that's because they checked every single one of us 10 times over to make sure that nothing was on us or anywhere close to us. We had an amazing opportunity to be in there, and none of us wanted to ruin that. And think back at it now. Like I said, it was something I didn't think too much about. I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this. This maybe you could call it an experiment. I don't know how many crews have actually been in there since, but I will tell you this much. It was a wonderful opportunity to work with some great people, to get to know a lot of others, to work in a prison. And we were there for a good 2 weeks. We were going in and out of that prison every day, 3 hours to get in, more like an hour and a half to get out. Go back to the hotel room, do all that stuff, and get ready for the next day. And, I was, look, I feel privileged to be able to tell you this story, because I've never told this before, except to a few friends. I've never told this. And it is something else, because we were also on the streets of East LA, and we had a lot of, gangs were against each other in this movie. And it was the most incredible time. American Me, check it out. It's out there. A lot of you have probably seen it. It's all about, gangs and the gang life. And that's where I met Gilbert Espinosa. He came to me at the time, and he just wanted to get out of the gang world, and he wanted to help out any way possible. And so, my boss, Sally, and we kind of took him under our wings, and we did. We helped him. We helped him get out of the gang life of East LA. And it's one of the greatest things, we could have ever done. And Gil then, came to work with me when I opened up Jeff Olan Casting, and he came to work with me, and he became, here's a gangster, a real gangster who grew up with the gang life, turned his life around, came to me and learned everything about casting that he possibly could. And he was the best. He was so wonderful what he did, and everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. And even at his untimely passing and his funeral, there were so many people there from Grey's Anatomy, from the cast and crew, so many people there to honor him because he was such a great guy, and we love him and we miss him. But that, just getting to know him and on the streets of East LA, and there's so many stories about that, and so many stories about the prison. And then, like I said, we also worked in Chino Prison. We worked there for a week and a half. The female crew, literally had to cut their hair short to look more like a guy in these prisons. And there were only about 3 or 4 female crew members. The rest were guys. And like I said, we walked by the showers, we walked by where, the cells. I mean, and of course the prisoners would be yelling out at us and trying to call us names, or hey, pretty boy, or whatever they would say. And, we always were told, do not look at any of them. Do not look at them in the eyes whatsoever. Just, stay focused. And, but yet also, like I say, the good prisoners that were able to work with us in some of the scenes, of course, there was guards all over the place, but it was something like, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You cannot make it up. And it's something that I did. And I'm really proud that I did it. And I'm really happy that I did it. And I'm really thankful that I did it, because it really opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And I'm I just don't know. It was just so different. And I can't even say that now I've ever had anything like that before. But I'm grateful for that.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's impactful stuff. Let's bring it back home. Let's bring it to something comfortable and safe and all that stuff. Something holy. How about holy Hollywood, Jeff?
Holy Hollywood! Who runs that company? So, Holy Hollywood was a movie that my partner Terry Zarki and I wrote and created, and it was about 2 rival casting companies. You write about what you know. So we were actually, writing. We had Big City Casting, which we were kind of like, it was off of Central Casting, and then Holy Hollywood Casting, which was off of, at the time, Rainbow Casting, my company before Jeff Olan Casting. So we wrote this screenplay, and we had a ball not only writing it and putting it together and casting it and producing it, but I was able to, put my mother into it. My mother plays an iconic. Really, you've got to see it. You got to check out the movie. It's on Tubi and other streaming. It's called Holy Hollywood the Movie. Holy Hollywood the Movie. And I believe there could still be a website still up. We did this many years ago, but in that movie, I've got a couple of stories. So in that movie, we got I was just doing the Quentin Tarantino movies at that time. So I got permission from Quentin to use Quentin Tarantino script as well as posters in the movie, and so we use those in the movie, and we put them up at our casting office, of course, and we shot in our casting office. We shot the movie, and I got Sal Pacino. That's Al Pacino's father. We got him into the movie. We also got Tony Tarantino, who was Quentin Tarantino's father, biological father. We got him into the movie. We had Catherine Pacino in the movie. Gil Espinosa was in the movie. He plays a great role. Francis Ruiz is in the movie. Francis is the drummer for Buck Cherry. And we had Amy Linker, who did a show called Square Pegs. She had co-starred with what's her name, Sarah Jessica Parker. We had Dan Zukowski in the movie. Dan was in Home Alone. If you saw the Home Alone pizza guy, that's Dan Zukowski. And we had so many other people in it, and also had Mickey Rooney. And the story behind Mickey Rooney is I knew Mickey Rooney's son's girlfriend, and she was in my database at the time. And I was talking to her, and I told her one day I need some great cars for a television show that I'm working on called High Tide with Rick Springfield. And she goes, "Oh, my boyfriend has a Ferrari." And I said, "Great, I'd love to talk to him." Well, her boyfriend was Chris Rooney, Mickey Rooney's son. I got to know them. I got to hang out with them. We were all friends. And one day when I told I told Chris, I said, hey, I've got a role for your dad in my movie, Holy Hollywood. He goes, well, let's get my dad the script. Let's see what he, has to say. But I must tell this story. I'm going to back up just for a second. So weeks before that, I had called Chris up and I said, hey, I have some friends that are doing a movie, and they're looking for an older man to be in it, whatever. And I went to it and I got Chris their script. Mickey read it, and Mickey did not like their script. 2 or 3 weeks later, I approached Chris again and I said, Chris, I have a script and I would love for Mickey to play Grandpa in our script if he'd like to do it. He took it to him and Mickey said yes immediately, because Mickey said, I will do Jeff Olan any kind of favor after he's even thinking about me. I will do your friend a favor. And he did. Mickey Rooney came aboard on Holy Hollywood. You have to see it. He plays Grandpa, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful little role for him. Little role because, look, Mickey was one of the major stars of Hollywood for so many years. But it was so great to have him, and so great that he did that for me, and so great to be able to have my mother out on that same set to meet him and to hang out. And I remember my grandfather loved Mickey Rooney, and people in my family loved him, and I really liked him. I saw a lot of his early movies, and to have him on the set, and it's crazy, but we got Mickey Rooney, and we've got this incredible cast for Holy Hollywood, and we re-released it. We re-released it in I believe it was like 2022. So it's out there. It's on some platforms. Check it out. And it was an incredible time in my life. I just loved doing it and having all those people. And, so many of them now, unfortunately are not with us anymore. But what a great time. I really, Jorgen, thanks for asking. That's a great time in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, I know that you have so many more stories that we haven't gotten to, but thankfully, this podcast, this awesome show, Rolling with Olan, is going to keep rolling for a while. So we are going to get back into it, and we're going to do lots more. Before we wrap up, maybe you have some other thoughts for folks listening. Maybe something around gratitude. Maybe something that can help people kind of hold on to the hope here as we wrap up the year and we hopefully go into a new year that's a little bit easier to navigate in Hollywood than this past one was.
Yeah, look, we've all been going through hard times in Hollywood and the entertainment business, and also in life. We're all going through a lot of different things right now. And we're being pulled this way and being pulled this way, being told this, being told that. And we just had elections that certainly didn't go the way some people would have wanted it to. But I have to say, look, we have this one shot at life, and you have to live the best you can, and you have to do things for yourself first and foremost, and then obviously for others. I know there's a lot of people that might say, well, I do for others first. Well, I have learned over the years, I have done for others, and I have worked my butt off helping others, and I will still help people. I will help people open the door for any of you out there. I will be more than happy to. But I also have to think about myself. Like I said, we have one life to live. You've got to make sure that you live it the best you can, getting up every day, putting one foot in front of the other, making sure that you're thinking positive as much as possible. Things do change. Make the right choices. You've got to make sure that you're doing things that are going to make you happy. I'll be the first to admit, this year was incredibly difficult for my agency. There was really not a lot of work, but I will tell you this much. Things now are picking up a little bit. And I believe for not only my agency, but for anyone who's watching, who's in the entertainment business or outside of it, things are going to change. Change comes first with you. And it's your attitude, and it's how you kind of work your way through life. Make every day as good as possible. There's all these motivators out there, but all you need to do is really motivate yourself. And, make sure that every day you're doing something positive. Every day you're doing something for you. Every day you're doing something for your career. And things are going to get better. our industry is changing and we have to adjust to it, but things are going to get better. There's going to be more TV made. There's going to be more movies made. Look, AI is going to be out there and it's going to come in, but it's not going to take away all the jobs. That's for sure. Some people have moved already to other areas and maybe others will move. Find out what makes you happy, where you want to go, and just do whatever it is that makes you happy every day. Live your life to the fullest because there's this isn't this isn't a dress rehearsal. We have to make sure that we are enjoying the time we have, doing the best we can, surrounding yourself with great people, trying to stay as positive as you can. If any negativity comes to you, then just start saying affirmations, or take a walk, do something different. It'll change your mindset really quickly. It really is all about your mindset. And I've gone up and down in this career. I've gone up and down, and I'm happy that I've been able to have this wonderful journey in life, to do what I'm doing and continue doing it. And like Jorgen said, we're going to have so many more podcasts, and we really want this to pop. And I believe it, and he believes it, and I want each and every one of you to believe in Rollin with Olan. Tell your friends, tell your family. I'm glad all of you are listening to this during Thanksgiving and through the holidays, because if there's anything that I want more than ever for each and every one of you, is I want you to be happy. Happy is coming from your heart, and I want everyone to be happy out there. Do what you can, do the best you can, and like I said, surround yourself with great people. Everything will be okay. I promise. Really, just you have to believe. You have to believe. I'm a believer. I know Jorgen's a believer, and I hope you're a believer too.
There it is. Well put, Jeff. Let's just say this too. If you are looking to just get on sets, if you're looking to get some experiences in entertainment, if you are aspiring to be an actor or aspiring to do anything in entertainment, you might want to sign up for Source and Cast. You
Yeah.
might want to,
Because
because it is free to sign up and it is always free to submit. And in all seriousness, if you are in LA, or if you are in New York, or if you are in Atlanta, then there is literally no reason not to sign up. This is where you'll see projects and roles come out, and you'll have the opportunity to get in them. And it's awesome. And it's going to be in other markets before you even know it. So here we go, man. Once again, thank you, Source and Cast, for sponsoring Rollin with Olan. We're really happy about that. And we're also really happy that you're tuning in and listening to this and getting all this great advice and these awesome stories from Jeff. So thank you for listening.
let me just say this real quick. Source and Cast, and Jorgen had talked about it, but let's remember, if there's any seniors that are listening or watching, you can do background work too, and a lot of people do. People who are in the corporate industry do background work. Students do background work. It runs amok, everything, and there's a lot of parents who want your kids involved, and we're going to have a show on that later on my podcast. But let's just put it this way: anybody and everybody can do background work, and it's a great way to see inside the industry that I've been talking about all day today. It's the easiest way to get into the industry, and it's probably one of the best jobs that so many people have had. I don't know if you guys had heard my podcast, maybe about a month ago, where we had 3 background artists on. You got to listen to that one as well. They have all made it in their own way, but it's a great job to have, and there's always great food on the sets, and you meet a lot of people, and sometimes you'll meet the stars that you've wanted to meet forever. So it's not, it's for all ages. Check it out, and like Jorgen said, definitely for Source and Cast, which is my sponsor, our sponsor, we're thrilled that they are. Just know that, go to that platform, sign up. It's easy to maneuver around, and it's free to sign up, like you said, and always free to submit. And it will be in a lot of other markets, and couldn't thank them enough for this as well.
There we go. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you, Jeff, and happy holidays to everybody listening. And let's gear up for a nice way to wrap up the year and a powerful way to start the new one, huh?
Thanks, Jorgen. And look, I couldn't be more thankful for that guy. Jorgen has been a wonderful mentor, teacher, friend. through this journey on the podcast. And again, we want to keep it going. So please, everybody, rate it, check it out, Spotify or Apple Podcast or on YouTube, and make sure you tell your friends and family and keep tuning in. There's going to be some incredible shows coming up. Every show is going to help somebody and probably several of you. And so thank you again, Jorgen, for getting me involved in this crazy venture. I used to do radio, and this is exciting though, and I'm loving this so much. So thank you, Jorgen. Thank you to everybody out there. Couldn't be happier that you've tuned in and joined us. I really appreciate you rolling with Olan.